ActionSA says it is alarmed but not surprised about the impending forfeiture of over 500 million rand in National Treasury grants by the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. This is not a first time for the troubled Metro, which has a long history of maladministration and corruption at council level. Last year, National Treasury withheld 591 million rands in grant funding for the municipality over the appointment of Anele Kaba as the new CEO of the Nelson Mandela Bay Development Agency. In 2022, the Metro was at risk of forfeiting hundreds of millions of rands to the National Treasury due to the inability to spend its budget. Joining us now is Athol Trollip, ActionSA Eastern Cape Provincial Chairperson. Mr. Trollip, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this afternoon. Now, as mentioned, the Metro has been troubled for quite some time with a few years of it either having funds taken or surrendered from them, as well as the last year having been at risk. What would you attribute this underspending of the Metro to?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, let me just say that it is alarming that Treasury has written to Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality to advise them that they are about to forfeit 500 million rands worth of grant funding. And if you'd allow me, I just want to tell you what those grants are for. They're for Regional Bulk Infrastructure Grant, Program and Project Preparation Support Grant, Urban Settlement Development Grant, Public Transport Network Grant, Informal Settlement Upgrade Grant, Neighbourhood Development and Partnership Grant. Now, you'll notice that all of those grants do with improving the lives of the citizens of Nelson Mandela Bay. And the money is about to be forfeited because of underperformance and non-compliance with Treasury regulations. Now, these are very serious red flag indicators, so much so that Treasury has now written to threaten the forfeiture of this money. And you asked what causes that. Well, it's because there's no proper management. I mean, the municipal manager has been under suspension for a long time. She was charged with fraud and corruption, and then she came back to work, and there's a fallout between the ANC, EFF, Northern Alliance-led administration, between their administration and the city manager, and everyone's at war, at loggerheads and at war with each other, because the coalition is essentially a cobbled-together coalition of corruption, where they are more interested in self-service, self-enrichment, and patronage than service delivery. Now, I can say that with conviction, because when I was the mayor about 6 or 7 years ago in Nelson Mandela Bay, instead of having money taken away from us, we were receiving annually windfall Treasury funding that Treasury had taken from other municipalities and were redirecting it to the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality because we'd spent 100% of our grant funding. Now, grant funding is free funding by the national government to a municipality to make their lives of their citizens easier. And here, they haven't spent money on informal settlement upgrade, public transport networks. There's a shortage of houses. There's a shortage of public transport. Bulk infrastructure grant is to deal with the sewage issues that are flooding into the Swartkops River. And it's chaotic that it's got to this stage.
Speaking of that chaos, what would then be the collection rate of the Metro with regards to how much they're actually getting from citizens in trying to get the work done?
Well, the correct collection rate is at its worst rate ever, because we have a government there that's more concerned at placating voters and trying to hoodwink them into voting for them in the next election than actually holding people accountable to pay for what they use. Now, there is a user pay principle, and the people that can't afford to pay are granted indigent status in municipalities. Therefore, they get certain amount of water and electricity free of charge, which takes care of poor people who can't pay. But all the other people in the city who have salaries and jobs and who work, they're supposed to pay for service delivery, and the municipality's responsibility is to collect that money, and they're not collecting that money. So they're going backwards at a canter in Nelson Mandela Bay, and the people who suffer the most are the citizens. I received a video this afternoon of a bulk sewer line that had burst on the banks of the Swartkops River, and I mean, it has been discharging millions and millions of litres of raw sewage into essentially what is the lung of Nelson Mandela Bay. And if the municipality is in this state of chaos, they're not going to be able to address that.
I mean, you touched on it earlier on with regards to which funding is being surrendered or possibly by the Treasury. And, I mean, of course, among others, this will affect EPWP, the informal settlements, and the upgrading of the transport network. Speaking to people on the ground, how much of an impact are you finding this to have on the citizens in their day-to-day lives?
Well, apart from speaking to people, engaging with people and also seeing with my own eyes, the infrastructure degradation in Nelson Mandela is quite astounding. I had a press conference yesterday in a place called Kariga, where the former Allen Ridge Hall, which was named after iconic freedom fighter Alan Hendrikse, the hall was probably the most prestigious civic center in Nelson Mandela Bay. And it is now in complete ruins. It looks like something out of a war area. It has been vandalized and stolen to such an extent that you can hardly believe that 3 or 4 years ago there was this beautiful civic center there. So over the last couple of years, I saw the initial vandalization, and then the municipality came and put a very costly fence around the building. The fence is also gone now, and the irony of all of that is that across the street from that facility is the South African Police Services of Kamesh Police Station, and on the other side of the street is the SAP detective offices. So all of this points to a complete dereliction of responsibility by government and also society, civil society. And people, need to be led by example. And when people see that the municipality is being neglected by the administration that's supposed to run the municipality, then people start doing the most extraordinary things. And we see that the road network is falling to pieces in Nelson Mandela Bay. There's just chaos there. And the economic pointers are not good. Our 2 ports that are in Nelson Mandela Bay are not faring very well at all. And ships are sailing past Nelson Mandela Bay. So all the indicators are going in the wrong direction in Nelson Mandela Bay, and 5 to 8 years ago they were starting to go in the right direction. It's amazing what happens when you turn the indicators around and they start going in the right direction. Cash starts flowing into the city and people start investing in the city, but at the moment people are disinvesting.
I mean, you mentioned how things were going right 5-7 years ago. What do you think it is about the constituency and the electorate within Nelson Mandela Bay that turned for a different type of leadership that got them to where you supposedly say they are today?
Well, look, essentially, I was involved in a 4-party coalition, which is quite easy to manage, and we had a majority coalition. At the moment, the coalition in Nelson Mandela Bay is very unstable, and people are transacting their positions in council to negotiate positions of importance and prominence. For example, the Northern Alliance has 3 seats out of 120 council seats, yet they have demanded to be the mayor. Now, once you get to a situation like that, and what you have in Johannesburg, where Al Jama'ah with 2 councillors also have the mayoral position, it's not likely that you're going to have a coherent leadership, because the parties behind the scenes that are not in the position of being the mayor, namely the ANC and the EFF, are the real parties that wag the dog. So in effect, what you've got is you've got the tail in charge of the dog, and it's not working very well because the 2 major parties behind the scenes are renowned for looking after themselves, enriching themselves, and dispensing patronage or using patronage for their own advantage in election times, like what's happening now. So at the moment, the administration has not got its eye on the ball. It's focusing on the elections and seeing what they can get out of the municipality to pay for their election campaigns. And then, of course, the situation with the municipal manager, it's just chaos. It's been chaos for the last 2 years, and nobody wants to deal with the situation. And you can't have a municipal manager that's in and out of court and in and out of suspension all the time.
All right, Mr. Trollip, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Joining us was Mr. Athol Trollip, ActionSA Eastern Cape Provincial Chairperson.